So, what I love about today's episode is we define even exactly who the industry is. It's not just those giant chains. In London, over 51% of the co-working spaces or neighbourhood workspaces are owned by what Jerome calls people who are in the trenches. They have 1 to 5 locations. We talked with Jerome and Jackie today about their Operators Weekend, which is in the States, and we're here in the UK doing Unreasonable Connection, which is the London Coworking Assembly Forum. And they are cousins or brothers and sisters. They are 2 very small events designed for you, the independent operators who are particularly focused on that day-to-day stuff, ultimately building a community in your neighbourhood and your workspace. So links to all of that stuff in the show notes, and we'll be talking about this in the LinkedIn co-working group. You can find all that in the notes. Thank you for your time and attention. Let's get into the show. Hello folks, it is the Co-working Values podcast again. We've got like this double whammy episode for you today, and so we're going to talk about the Co-working Operators Summit. And to kick us off, we've got Jackie. Jackie, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for?
Hi. So I'm known for running marketing for Pacific Workplaces, a long-time operator in the industry. And I'd like to be known for being an epic baker. I got a KitchenAid mixer for Christmas, and I'm going to use that thing.
There's one of those behind me in the office because we clean the kitchen and never put it back in, actually. Jerome, the legend that is, legend in his own lunchtime. What are you known for, sir, and what would you like to be known for?
Yeah, so I think I'm one of the oldest co-working people in the world. I started in 2008, now the oldest co-working brand in America called Blank Spaces. I'm also a licensed architect, focuses on commercial office space and retail and residential and hospitality. My personal little thing that only a few people know is I'm a very greedy base runner. I've been playing adult slow pitch softball now for decades, and I run bases a lot.
That is, I don't know what to say there. I can't imagine you doing that.
I'm always the lead off or the second batter, and as long as you get any kind of half hit, I will take extra bases.
It's the aggressive part. What do you think, Jackie? It's the aggressive part in that sentence that like threw me off.
Yeah, I didn't know that Jerome had that side to him. I think that's great though. When I think about it, it makes sense. Like you seem like you would just be looking for that opportunity, and yeah, I love that. That's awesome.
I've got Eye of the Tiger playing in my head now. Jerome, let's get back to this. Tell us about the co-working operators gig. Like the second year running, what's it all about? Set it up and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, last year we did the first inaugural co-working summit, and I hosted it in my new Venice campus in Los Angeles. My hope was just to discuss topics that were more operationally in the trenches. I saw that the bigger conferences had been leaning, shifting over towards bigger, more macro topics such as real estate structures and some big AI topics, but not how it trickles down to what the community managers and the actual operators need to know and what not to know. So I wanted to get it down to more operational topics was one. A second one was I thought that there was an audience who would prefer a more diversified set of speakers on stage and in the audience, and then to just pick another date where it wasn't in the thick of the conference season. By having it in the February-March timeframe, it was an alternative date to the other busy seasons in the fall and spring. And so we're rotating this. Last year was in LA. This year we're in Raleigh, North Carolina. And next year we'll be in Detroit. And actually we have someone else who wants to host in 2028 in Denver. So I think these are nice secondary cities that are sometimes forgotten because the big conferences tend to focus on the bigger cities. And that means also travel to all the people who can't make it.
Yeah, there's also that smaller thing, because we're doing our Unreasonable Connection event in London, and we're limiting. I mean, if 151 people want to come, that's okay. But like having small things where people can like connect and talk to each other, I get overwhelmed with 172 people in a room, and I'm like exhausted. Jackie, what do you explain your role in this, and then like what are you hoping people will get out of this?
Yeah, my role is primarily marketing. I have a very type A personality, so I bring that to the group as well, and just generally helping to organize things. I think the biggest thing that I personally took away from last year and that I heard firsthand from people was exactly what you said. That connection aspect was so huge. I've been, going to the larger conferences. There's 200 or 300 people there, and you can go almost the full 2 days, and you may or may not run into some of your favorite people because it's just so busy, or depending on the venue, maybe you're not in the same place at the same time. So what you'll get at this conference is exactly that. It's not just the connection from the smaller sessions, being able to speak up mid-session, ask a question, work it through with the speaker, with the panel. But it's the side conversations after that. It's the conversations at the happy hour. It's walking away from an event and you know every single person's name. And I just think that was so cool.
How do you, like, I'm asking this really, like, how do you, there's another guy who's running an event called, it's called Create a Day. And me and him are always talking about how you connect everybody in a room without like forcing it. And I kind of know how to do that by pulling people into each other, but also how to articulate, like, we all of us will say, get connected at this event. And like, what does that really mean? And that's what people like us actually want people to do.
There's some, I think, like paralysis analysis. You walk into a room, it's 300 people, and you'll see that there's probably some groups that look tight-knit because they've known each other for years. And unfortunately, the byproduct of that, they look like a clique to a new person. So a new person, unless they're very socially outgoing, is then going to just join that group. But if it's a smaller room, I think each discussion is much more open and much easier to join, even if you know no one.
What do you think, Jackie?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, Bernie, you made the exact point of like pulling people together. And when you have myself, Jerome, and now we're backed up by Deshaun and his team, and Lauren on his team as well, we have 4 people now that go, oh, for example, at the event last year, there was someone there that owned a space or they were looking to open a space, and come to find out she was also an architect. So guess who I pulled over? Jerome. I said, hey, I know an architect who also lives in LA. And then you kind of just fade into the background after that conversation starts, and you just watch it blossom from there.
Talking about CAD software and drywall. Let's talk a bit about the program, because this, like you said earlier, Jerome, it's operational, and I found this too. Like now, I would want to go to something that's going to solve a problem. I don't need new information. I particularly want to talk with other. I'm trying to think. I've got so many problems. I don't know which one I can share here, but like there's things I need to like work out how to do, and now there's so much information everywhere. It's actually talking to someone about how to do it is important. There was a question in there somewhere. Sorry.
Yeah. So one of our starting topics is managing multiple locations. I think this topic was definitely very popular in the early days of the bigger conferences, but some of the bigger conferences are now bringing, the National President of WeWork or Regis, which is great, but they're in the hundreds. And, when you actually list the top, let's say 20 or 30 co-working brands, either by dollar volume or locations or notoriety, however you want to list it, after you get to the first 4, the first 3 are like WeWork has like, I don't know, 200 locations, and the US region has 1,000 or so. And then Premier has, I think, 120 or something like that. After that, then it drops so much down to 20 and 30 at best. And that's like maybe 4 or half a dozen. And then it's like everyone's under 3 or 4 locations after that, which means, yeah, it's great to know the big, most visible people, but super high majority are just trying to go add their second location or add their fourth location. So we're trying to address that topic that, again, the bigger conferences, rightfully so, and on demand, is that they want to talk about the bigger, high-profile people, but the high majority of the people are actually still in the trenches. That would be one example topic.
And Jackie, if you let me set the scene. If I was walking through the conference, what would you drag me into and say I have to come and pay attention to?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think that the most interesting topic we have that I haven't seen anywhere else is using your space for events as a stream of revenue. I think that's really going to be interesting because a lot of times people will have unused space. They'll have a big meeting room or a conference room or, something that is just sitting there unused, and it could be bringing in dollars. So creating a business, within your business to do that could just change the game for someone.
Yeah, that has come up so many times. I'm sure that has always been a thing, but that has come up so many times in conversations last year, and it seems pretty obvious, but it is hard to. I haven't looked for a few months in case anyone's published a whole report on it, but it's I can't even speak. I'm surprised at how often it's not spoken about or how unreadily available information is about that. I want to. Do you want to say anything else about that, Jackie? Because I just sort of jumped in there and stamped on you.
Oh no, you're good. I was just gonna say there's a testimonial we have from one of our attendees last year, and she, going back to what Jerome was saying about being in the trenches, she had opened a space, I think, within the last year. And she went to the conference because she wanted basically to be affirmed that she was doing the right things, that she was choosing to work with the right vendors, that she was going about her marketing the right way, that she was looking to open a second space very soon, take that big jump. And she felt really at ease from being at the conference, getting the information. She got new takeaways, but yeah, she was really just there to be like, am I doing this right?
Did she know many other co-working space owners or operators?
No, she didn't. And she brought her dog to the conference too. It was great.
Splendid. Because that happens as well. I think my favorite move is getting people who think, I have this phrase, which I hoped would take off more by now, but I call it co-working space imposter syndrome. And the amount, it is probably 100 people have said to me over the years, oh, I'm not a real co-working space. I've only got 70 desks. And it's like the artisan coffee guy on the corner going, I'm not a real coffee shop because I'm not Starbucks. And then they meet other people, and it's exactly what you said there, Jackie. It's like, maybe that's the whole point of going to these conferences, is like confirmation that you're not alone and you're on the right path. You said a word before we came off on air, if you like, Jackie, that was about impact. And what is the impact you're looking for out of here?
Yeah, I think the impact is that there is a community out there, that there is connection. It's getting the real taste of what this industry is and what makes it up. And it's hard. I came from the logistics industry before this industry. And I've been in this industry almost 2 years, and I'm still shocked at how friendly and welcoming and just open people are. If you have a problem, somebody in the room is going to help you. And they're going to help you genuinely, not with some agenda, not trying to promote themselves, not trying to get you to buy their product. And I think that's so invaluable. And that encourages people who maybe have one location and they have that imposter syndrome, or they're staying up late at night wondering, am I going to make it? Is this going to be a success a year from now? What is this going to look like 5 years from now? And giving them that reassurance that this is viable. Like you can go out there and make a great space and continue to grow it and bring people in and ultimately create a community that is a home away from home for people.
Why do you think? Why I find that a lot, that exactly what you said, that like people in this industry are more willing to help than other industries I've spent time in, which is, mainly like techie things and in the event industry. But there's always, and hospitality, there's always like good people around, but it feels like that sense of community between people who really, are in some ways competitors. Being a bit nice there, but like they should be competitors, but they're much more abundant in their mentality.
Yeah, I like the word abundance. What do you think, Jerome?
I think especially compared to tech is much more likely to cross geographical lines and enter someone else's market where they're based out of. Whereas co-working is much more brick and mortar, and they're not going to open across the world anytime soon. So I think that helps. But there was a grassroots origination to this whole industry, as I saw back in 2008. And the part of co-working is collaboration and community. I think that still resonates to this day to a lot of people, even though there is a lot of peacocking where some of the bigger players or just people who like to brag about how their business is more than it really is as good. Which causes other people to feel like, oh, I have an imposter syndrome because the person I'm talking to is saying they're opening their 5th location this year or something like that.
Pete, as you were saying that, Jerome, I was thinking in back in the old days of COVID, we did this. I can't believe we did this. Like we did this daily call in like March 2020, and we just would like send the Zoom link around, and lots of people from London Coworking Assembly and other people that we knew would come, because no one knew what was going. Should we stay open? Should we stay closed? Do we need to paint the whole building in bleach? What is going on? And people came to that call who were peacocking, and it was the first time they've ever asked for help. And everyone was like saying, "But I thought you were like, killing it." And they're like, "Not really. My mum lent me the money for the building and she wants it back because this has happened." And then it kind of like democratized a whole little part of the community. And I think, that seemed to connect to what you just said, Jerome, but now I've lost my thread. Sorry. I want to go back to something you said earlier about the diversity in lineups, because that's something you and I have always talked about, Jerome. I think you were a bit kind in what you said, because so many conferences are just lots of white men like me talking at the audience on stage. And numerous times in the last 10 years, me and a group of people have approached lots of people who run events and said, "Look, here's a whole list. I have a list of 70 people of color who could talk at a co-working conference," which I've sent to lots of people, and it's never been as well received as I hoped it would be. And definitely particular people have taken great steps to improve the diversity of their lineup, and it has been harder work for them than they thought it would be. So it's moving in the right direction, but it's still a little bit scary how undiverse things are.
Biznow is one of the most known media publications in the US. They have global presence, but I just know them for being the go-to real estate media publications. And this is real estate. They couldn't be more male-centered and traditional and conservative as real estate. I noticed that if you look at any one of their webinar or in-person speaker panelist lineup, it is almost always diverse by gender, by ethnicity, by apparent color. It's great. And if they can do it, my gosh, we are overdue to do it in our co-working industry, which is real estate adjacent. We have a lot of real estate players in our industry. We have a lot of people, everyone has to deal with real estate. So we are in real estate, we're adjacent to it, however you want to look at it. And for an industry that professes to be about community, that's the co part of co-working, it sure doesn't include the entire community. We owe it to ourselves, practice what we preach, and owe it to the neighborhood surrounding our co-working spaces beyond our four walls.
What do you, it sounds like such an immature question at this stage of the game, but like, what would you like people, what do you think, what would you encourage people to do to help make that happen?
You know, for some people, they will opt out if they don't think a conference or any gathering is going to be diverse, because they don't want to stick out like a sore thumb. And that's if they're a minority. If they're white, they don't want to aid and abet a situation anymore when you exacerbate it than what it is. I think, having talked to conference organizers, I get it. It's very difficult. I'm not saying this is an easy task, but I think it is much easier than they make it seem to be. We talked about pay to play. The more visible, the higher profile the speakers, the more likely you're going to have better ticket sales and more expensive ticket sales. I get that. But then at the same time, you're actually alienating people who have, what's that phrase when you shop with your feet? They're just not going to buy those tickets. And I know many people who have stopped going, myself included, to some of the conferences as a result of that. I don't want to exacerbate, aid and abet this situation. I think the gender equity has gotten a lot better, which is great, but like the racial and the ethnic one is much easier than you think it can be.
I was working on a conference once, and I pointed out to the organizer that 70% of the lineup for the day was men, and there were 2 people of color. The organizer said, well, the women just don't call me back. And I was like, but you have to call them more. They're like, it's not, they're not waiting, they're not hanging around waiting for you to call, or they're not, it's like, you have to make the effort. And it's like, if you call back, and most women would be much busier doing childcare and a job, whereas men like me are podcasting all day. So, you just have to make the effort. And I was really shocked at how easy that came out their mouth. They don't call me back. And it's like, well, get on with it. Jackie, we're talking about diversity, and we've talked nonstop for 5 minutes. Would you like to add something to this before we go?
Yeah, I think it's just, creating a safe space. Like maybe the women aren't calling back because they're not sure, like if they'll be accepted, or if they're going to be as listened to as, other people may, right? Just because they haven't seen people like them up on stage before. And maybe they're just scared to be the first one. But yeah.
Yeah, they don't, it's called tokenism. They don't want to be the token female or the token minority in the room. That ask has to be both authentic and persistent, because you have to remember that we had not been called upon for years, and suddenly out of the blue, someone calls me. That doesn't seem authentic.
So Jackie, where can we find, if I want to buy a ticket to this great event, where do I go? And we'll put links in the show notes, but just tell everyone the deets at the end of the show.
Yeah, it's February 6th and 7th. We are on all social media, so you can find us there, Co-working Operators Weekend. We also have the event tickets available for purchase on the Luna event app, and we have a great email list. So if you want to be added to our email list, just send me an email on LinkedIn and we'll add you.
Right, and we'll put is LinkedIn the best place to track you down on social media, Jackie?
Anyone can email me. It's Jackie, Jackie, at pacificworkplaces.com.
That's Pacific, not specific. That's going to confuse people even more now. Jerome, where can we find you, sir?
Email's great. Jerome, Jerome at blankspaces.com or LinkedIn. I check my DMs.
Thank you. So folks, we'll put all the links to everything of that in the show notes. And thank you very much for your time and attention today. And be careful out there. It is a jungle. Just before we head off into the sunset, go to the show notes, which are in the Substack page. And that's the best place to like and subscribe. Every time we publish a new episode, we'll send you an email. And in those show notes, there's links to Jackie and Jerome and how to get hold of them. And also the Operators Weekend, which is on February the 6th, I think it is. The Unreasonable Connection Live, which is in London. And the same week as that is happening in London, that day after is the Workspace Design Show at the Business Design Centre. That's our 4th or 5th year there for the London Coworking Assembly. And there's the research group for collaborative spaces coming up in March, and also the Co-working Alliance Summit, and then there is European Co-working Day, which is in May. So as always, hefty show notes there, and we'll be talking about all this in the LinkedIn Co-working group. Wherever you are in the world, wherever you are in the world, be careful out there. It is a jungle. Really appreciate your time and attention for today.